Well, welcome to the front, you commandos. Today we're going to be going over this week's event in Ukraine and Israel. So we're joined by Sam Green today. So we're back. Go ahead and say hello.
Hello.
All right, we will be covering this week, and we're starting with Ukraine. So our first is the Kursk front. Kursk has been taking a really negative turn. The Russians have arrived in numbers now. They outnumber Ukrainians 3-1. And they do have heavy equipment with them. They have taken some critical areas. Most importantly, this crossroads here. A lot of these troops are not conscript fodder. They are pretty good. So I expect the Battle of Kursk to grind. Like the offensive actions of Ukraine is going to stop, and hopefully they're able to hold long enough for the rainy season to be able to attack as effectively.
So I'm assuming is the Ukrainian Volunteer Brigade are those foreign volunteers or
Yes,
okay? So
they're
they're
down
so they're
here.
experienced soldiers still.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
and
are
then I'm
holding
assuming all
on the
the other ones
flank.
are Ukrainian regular infantry
Yes.
and mechanized motorized
This
units.
is light infantry, the L. These are air assault, B on the top,
Oh,
special operations forces, and mechanized with circle in.
okay. So this is a pretty hard hitting force that the Ukrainians have deployed here,
Yep.
and
Problem
then
is,
and then it, I'm
yeah.
assuming most of the current forces of the Russians right now are just regulars and conscripts.
No,
Uh,
they are actually pretty good. Like these are air assault, airborne, and marine.
oh,
There's a
okay.
whole airborne division up here fighting it
Oh,
that
yeah.
has made the
It
breakthrough.
I do see that, yeah. Is it, I'm assuming given Russian military tactics, it's probably a more helicopter-focused, airborne unit?
Yeah, they have air superiority over the region again, and they have a lot of armor with them that made this breakthrough here. The Ukrainians destroyed quite about half of them that were actually involved in the breakthrough, but they were unable to recapture the territory.
Ah, yes, I see.
Right now, I think the Ukrainians are trying to circle this pocket by attacking both flanks, but I don't think it's going
Uh,
to go that well.
yeah, from
They're
the way that it's
outnumbered.
looking right now, I doubt that that's possible.
Yeah,
I think the best solution that they have right now is to grind enemy or grind the Russian losses down by just, like, holding position and digging in.
I would agree. Our next area is Kupiansk. Not a lot has happened here since the tank battle from a couple weeks ago, I think, at this point. There's a massive tank battle down in this region, and a lot got redeployed to go to Kursk, so nothing has happened there. There has been small scale skirmishes, but other than that, not a whole lot.
Indeed.
Next is Toresk. Again, same thing, not very many changes. A lot of units got redeployed out of this area. Go to Kursk. Chessie VR. There have been a little bit here, but everything's over in Kursk right now. Change 8th to the 15th.
Which is absolutely 0 on that.
There's a little bit in the north, and then over down here in the south, we'll cover that in the other slide. Kharkivka. So here, the Russians have focused their attention on the Kharkivka city right here, under this unit, and their
Yeah.
goal is to encircle it before the muddy season. They've made quite a breakthrough with their tank division up here,
So they've
but
got
they're
what,
focusing here.
a month or 2 before the muddy season sets in? So they've definitely gotta move fast.
Yep.
So is that a
Uh,
pure armored division that they have with is that the circle with the oval is?
Right here, yeah, this is an armored division.
Okay.
So they have quite a lot of armor. It doesn't mean they don't have infantry. They do have infantry, but they do have more than usual tanks.
Hmm. It does look like there's a armored regiment of the Ukrainians as well as several mechanized units, so
Yep.
it may still be a balanced combat engagement, especially given Russian tank losses recently.
Yeah.
The Russian armored strategies definitely need to be changed up a little bit. I'm not
Ne-
sure. I'm not sure exactly what would benefit them, but they definitely need to look into like changing their tactics for sure.
Yep. They need to work on their electronic warfare. The main killer of their tanks has been drones.
Oh, for sure.
That's on both sides though, I think.
Combating drones is extremely hard, let
Yeah.
alone for both countries are under equipped for that. Given Ukraine is probably better equipped just because of the United States' intervention. So
Yep.
as far as our equipment and
All right. And now we're on to our good news actually. Uh there has been quite a lot of strategic news going on. A Russian stockpile hacked, and this is in south over to the, I think it's the southeast of Crimea, so it's pretty deep into Russia. But they had a lot of drones here. I think this was done by a cruise missile, but I'm not certain. They had
Офигеть.
many
Все
drones at this
взрывается.
base.
Все
yeah.
взрывается.
See in the video, the secondary is cooking off. So
Вот что
something
творится.
was destroyed, but we do not know what.
Офигеть.
Not the
Бахает так.
biggest explosion we've seen out of this conflict so far, but it's still definitely a
Даже
big
Not
one.
over yet.
предположить не могу, что это. Ой, сейчас опять рванет.
Oh yeah, there you
This base was like their drone base. They had
Сколько
400
какой?
drones here, including the
Обалдеть.
Shakid, which are very expensive.
go. Which I'm
Обалдеть.
assuming by the
Yeah.
name
Просто что.
are Iranian.
Yes, these are Iranian drones.
Yes.
They're not like the cheap drones. These are expensive drones. Like, you can see they're kind of like the Predator drones. I don't know if you know what those are like.
Вот так.
Yeah, they essentially look like a knockoff of the
Просто
of
нереально.
the American drones, which I think aren't the Predator drones currently outdated as far as U.S. equipment even. I think we do have like more advanced versions of them now.
Yeah.
I think the Predator drones are probably still used,
Uh,
but not in as great numbers as they used to be.
yeah. Our next is Discord. Uh, Steam and Discord have been banned by the Russian government. This was kind of sudden. A lot of Russian units were not given prior notice, and they were doing ongoing operations. So they would lose their feeds to their drones and communication with their unit just in the middle of their operation. And that caused quite a lot of problems. They did lose a few drones because of this, but they didn't have anything to replace it. There was a lot of complaints among the Russian military, and there are rumors that they're going to ban Telegram as well, and they're very upset about this.
Well, I mean, if your main communication structure mysteriously disappears mid-war, it's usually not a positive move
This
as far as
just
logistics go.
Yep. The communications are so important that it's better for the enemy to be able to hear everything you're doing than to not have them at all. Like
Yeah, of course.
they had no backup and they turned off their comms. Like the
Yeah,
Russians did that to themselves.
it's one of those things you need to give notice to your people before just destroying their entire comms network.
Yeah.
It's like,
Uh
we need an alternative now. We need to go
yep.
back to radio.
Uh the sanctions are actually proving to be somewhat useful this week. The Su-57 is a Russian it's their fifth generation fighter, and they're planning on expanding their number to 75. And but because of sanctions, they don't have enough electrical and avionics components, and is estimated that there are between 14 to 22 of the planes left in Russia. I think that includes like just the wear and tear of the planes because they can't replace any of the parts that break during testing or maintenance. All right.
Yeah, the Su-57 is generally pretty advanced fighter as far as Russian standards as well. So it's definitely not going to benefit the Russians. The fact that they can't get any more of those planes built up.
The German chancellor has approved 600 million euros in military aid for Ukraine, which I haven't seen what's in the deal yet. I'll have to look that up for next week. The F-16s have arrived and are doing God's work. They shot down an Su-34 that was glide bombing. Those have been constantly hammering. Those glide bombs have been constantly hammering Ukrainian positions. So the F-16s have showed up and are now contesting the airspace. It's pretty cool that they don't have to enter Russian airspace to attack it. They have long-range missiles, so they avoid Russian air defense while fighting the Russian aircraft.
Indeed.
Same week, an Su-25 was shot down. We don't know what shot it down, but I expect the Russian aircraft losses to increase now that the F-16s are in play.
How many did they receive?
I'm not sure. I think it was. How many was it? I think we covered it a few weeks ago, but I don't know how many. And our last piece of strategic news, North Korea has sent about a brigade of troops to train. They're training in Russia right now. They are intended to go to the front line. Some of them have defected, so the Russians are looking for them, but that hopefully that shows us that their morale is low and they're not that useful for frontline combat.
Yeah.
Extreme tomato.
Yeah, I don't generally think that the North Korean troops would be of very much use. I'm assuming that they're at best the level of a moderate or low skill conscript.
Yeah, they are
Given
training in Russia with Russians though, so we'll see
they may,
what level they're able to bring them up to. Nobody has seen combat out of the North Koreans. I can't expect it to be good, but they could surprise us.
Yeah, they may.
All right, for our boys, the 72nd Mechanized, there's some new info that the Russian 155th Marine Brigade that they have been fighting for 2 years has had to be reconstituted 8 times. So they inflicted quite a bit of damage, according to the reports. The bad news is that they will be stuck at the front. So we don't know how well they'll do from now on. They have taken significant losses during the battle. Hopefully they're able to rebuild during the muddy season, but
That is
they're not being
crazy.
given any relief.
I mean, they must be doing fairly well if the 155th has been rebuilt so many times.
Yeah.
I mean, they inflicted regiment level casualties at least 8 times.
Yeah, they did fight a lot of armor. The totem unit, I think it's a platoon, has done. That's their UAV you remember from a while back, we covered their order of battle. Totem has done quite a bit of good work.
Indeed.
Right, now we are on to our Israel update. So, there are UN troops in the UNFIL is United Nations Forces in Lebanon. There are high tensions between Israeli and UN troops here. 4 UN soldiers were wounded in 2 separate attacks for HQ, and they have
So much,
also found
so,
Hezbollah.
so much so that the French have decided to ban the Israelis from a UN's weapons or not a UN, sorry, a European weapons conference
Yeah,
as of right now,
I don't think that's gonna have
given
an
the conflict.
yeah. I don't think that's gonna have an impact on the conflict unless it drags out for a long time. But we'll see how this goes. Uh, they also have found weapons caches, a few hundred meters of UN bases. So the Israelis are using that as justification to do some of these aggressive actions. And in southern Israel, a USA air defense battery has arrived, or is arriving. I think a company has arrived already, but they're expanding that, and that will be in the south. So I don't know how much it's going to impact this front, but the Lebanese are heavily outnumbered, and the UN troops have no artillery, no armor,
Indeed.
and no air defense. So I
Well,
don't think it's a good idea for them to
I
fight
don't think
Israel.
I don't think the UN troops are actively going to engage the Israelis anyway. I think they're
Yeah,
just there for peacekeeping. So, I ideally they wouldn't try to fight
yeah,
those of them.
yeah, and that's going to be a recurring thing where nobody has anything that can fight Israeli aircraft. They can't even
Yeah.
contest them. Also looks like they're heavily outnumbered, the amount of brigades here. And there's about half of them are conscripts, but the other portion is really well trained.
On the Israeli forces.
Yes, the Israeli
Yeah.
forces. Right, and then next I have a map of their HQ division is here for the UN, but I have a full map of all their units here from August. This is from the United Nations. Looks like they have a lot of Italians in it, but it's also going to be hard to coordinate all these different languages groups to keep the cohesion.
Yeah, of course. That's often the problem with the UN forces is that they often, for one, disagree on their level of intervention, as well as just the fact that they have bad communication as well. Like the UN forces often don't agree on how much they should be in this. Like there's a case in the Congo and the during a rebellion, which is covered in actually a movie. Uh, what was the name of that movie again? It was something. But the idea is that the UN forces were trying to intervene to stop the rebellion in the Congo, and the Irish forces ended up sacrificing a lot of their soldiers and holding against a army of the rebellion. But a lot of the Indian forces and things like that went a little too far before this, which is what spurred the rebellion in the first place, and accidentally killed an entire radio station worth of people.
Oh, terrible.
Which yeah, so oftentimes the UN forces have disagreements on how far to take things, and some forces end up doing a little too much
Oh, okay.
and accidentally escalating the process or
Yeah.
the problems.
All right.
So
That's
we're obviously hoping that none of that happens in this conflict.
yeah. Right, that concludes this week's brief. You guys for watching. Have a good week, everyone.
Bye bye.